The story with Jimmy and Jey continues to hint at interesting directions, so we'll see what's new there. We'll also check out what's new for Becky Lynch, AJ Lee, and more. Starting things off with the new developments for Jimmy and Jey. Ever since the twins got back together, they've been pushing the narrative that they're not really on the same page, and how there's a big disconnection there. The main idea being that Jey is sounding and acting more like Roman Reigns than his usual old self, and that's something that Jimmy has called Jey out on for several weeks in a row now. And Jimmy isn't crazy one bit for saying and feeling like that. Jey's change in attitude is definitely noticeable, and him running off to have private conversations and phone calls behind Jimmy's back is also something that's raising some red flags. So the brothers may be reunited, but there's a lot of uncertainty and suspicion surrounding them right now with this storyline. This story continued with Jimmy and Jey's tag team match against the Brawns. Jey had several questionable instances where it looked like he got close to hitting LA Knight, but it was pretty hard to determine which attacks were intentional and which ones weren't. So Jey has that whole entire dynamic running with LA Knight, but on top of that, Jimmy and Jey also lost the big tag team match to the Brawns, and it was Jey who ate the pin as well. There were reports floating around that Jey was legitimately injured in the closing moment of that match, but he took to his Instagram to say that he was okay. And assuming that everything really is okay with Jey, this story should continue in some very explosive ways. Heading into the tag team match, Jey was already pretty heated towards LA Knight, and obviously having Jimmy disobey his orders and team up with LA Knight, that probably still has Jey fuming as well. You take all those bad feelings and tension that was already there and now add on this big premium live event loss to the mix, and we're to assume that Jey will be even more angry than he was before, especially with Jey's new demeanor mirroring Roman Reigns. We know that Roman got very upset about losses in the past and looked at it as the biggest embarrassment and bad look for the family. So with Jey acting a lot like Roman in recent weeks, a good way to keep that trend going is by having Jey absolutely freak out over that premium live event loss. If Jey loses his mind over that loss and is furious about it, that's really going to continue to make him seem more and more like he's turning into Roman Reigns, which is apparently what they're going for. Why is Jey acting like this, and why the sudden change in his persona? Well, it can certainly be related to all the events that have happened since Jimmy and Jey were apart from each other. During their first run together as a tag team, they were equals. They accomplished a lot. Tag team wrestling was all they knew. But since they broke up in 2023, Jimmy and Jey went their separate ways and tried their luck in singles competition. And from late 2023 to current day, there's no doubt or argument to it at all. Jey absolutely had the more successful singles career than Jimmy. Jey won the Royal Rumble, he won the world title at WrestleMania, and was involved in so many high-caliber matches within those few years, while Jimmy basically just spent that time dealing with Solo Sikoa and MFT. So some fans feel like that's where this change in attitude can also be coming from for Jey. Jey is back with Jimmy but doesn't really see them as equals anymore. Jey sees himself as the leader of the brotherly duo because he's the one that held a world title and had more success on his own. So Jey quietly sees himself as being a level higher than Jimmy. And that's what's subconsciously playing a role in Jey's change in persona, and him barking orders at Jimmy. Jey feels like he has to be the leader of the team since he's the former world champion, and Jimmy is not. And also with Roman out of the picture right now, maybe that's adding even more weight on Jey's shoulders to step up and try leading with a bit of an iron fist. Before the whole Yeet era, Jey's character was very character-driven, and did have a lot of emotions and trauma that he was always trying to manage all at the same time. And it looks like that's the side of Jey that's slowly starting to emerge again. Maybe what he's going through right now is a mix of a lot of different things. Maybe Jey feels a little bit of guilt for how things unfolded at Clash in Paris with Roman Reigns. Roman was giving Jey great advice, getting him back on track, but Jey couldn't find a way to save Roman from that brutal attack from the hands of the Vision. Maybe Jey feels like that was all his fault, so maybe that's also playing a role in the development of this new persona for Jey. He wants to avenge Roman, wants to protect the family image that Roman worked so hard to maintain in recent years. And that's what's making him gain this new edge to himself. He's trying to control Jimmy, he's trying to step into Roman's shoes during this absence for Roman. But with Jimmy already calling Jey out on his Roman-like behavior and disobeying some of the orders, will Jey's big plan here work out smoothly? Or will it be a mess? Considering that massive loss to the Brawns, it looks like Jey will increase the intensity and will apply the pressure onto Jimmy even more. Although we may continue to see progression through Jey's actions and gestures, it looks like the really big payoff will come into play with Roman's return. Will Roman approve of the new version of Jey? Will Roman keep pushing Jey in that direction? Or will Roman kind of stop and take a step back and point out to Jey that it's a road he shouldn't go down? So keep an eye on Jey's persona change because it looks like it could be a wild few weeks of development there. AJ Lee's first match in over 10 years lived up to the hype and was an explosive and very fun matchup. Lots of big moments. They really stretched out the hot tag to build a lot of hype for when AJ finally tagged in, and it worked. The fans went crazy, and once AJ got involved, she didn't slow down at all. With AJ being the main centerpiece of this match, and it being her first in-ring action since March of 2015, it only made sense for the finish of the match to run through her. When things were looking rough for AJ and it seemed like Becky was closing in on the win, AJ countered into a Black Widow and made Becky tap out for the win. The finish of the match was great because it basically keeps both feuds going. CM Punk and Seth Rollins didn't score any pinfalls or submissions over each other, so that gives them the excuse to continue their rivalry down the line. And for Becky tapping out to AJ, that certainly seems it's building up to AJ's first singles match in well over 10 years. AJ made the defending Women's Intercontinental Champion tap out. Seems like that's the perfect situation that will give AJ a title opportunity against Becky Lynch for that title. It's a big rule in the industry, you pin or submit a defending champion, they pretty much means that you're the new #1 contender for that respective title. So it certainly seems like AJ will be the #1 contender for the Women's Intercontinental title in the near future. And it's going to be AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch one-on-one. AJ already had a big return match with the mixed tag match, and now a singles match against Becky Lynch will surely serve as another huge match for AJ. The question from there on will be if AJ can actually dethrone Becky Lynch for the title. Will the Vision help Becky Lynch squeeze by AJ Lee, or is AJ Lee taking that Intercontinental title and kicking off her own title reign? That's definitely going to be a very explosive matchup for the Women's Intercontinental title. You can certainly make an argument that the Women's Intercontinental title has been the hottest title in the entire women's division over these last few summer months. And with an AJ Lee and Becky Lynch matchup on the way, that momentum is definitely continuing for the Women's Intercontinental title. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.